Yep.
Okay, we're ready to start. Thank you.
Right. Good morning, everybody. Just before we actually get onto the agenda, my name's Adrian Hutton. I'm a councillor and I've been appointed as the chair of this panel this morning. Could I ask the other councillors that are present to introduce themselves, please?
Good morning, I'm Councillor Jo Farrell.
You're on mute,
Julie,
Councillor
you're-
Sloman.
Hi, I'm Julie Sloman, councillor for Norbeck Ward.
Okay. Could I ask the other officers that are present to introduce themselves, please? Sarah?
Hi, good morning. I'm Sarah Chadwick. I'm the Democratic Governance Advisor and I'm here to take the minutes of the meeting this morning.
Helen Davis from Legal Services.
Right. And then everybody else. Can I start with Mr. This is difficult because I've got it all different.
Barwiński.
Right. Mr. Barwiński.
Yes.
Thank you. PC Harrison.
Yes, good morning. PC Guy Harrison from Blackpool Police Licensing Department.
Mr. Petrak.
Morning, Lee Petrak, Trading Standards and Licensing Manager, Blackpool Council.
Kerry Barrow. Kerry, you're on mute. All right, I'll do it for you. Kerry Barrows, Public Health Officer. Okay, and then we've got Mrs. Clark, June Clark.
Yes, good morning.
Tony Clark.
Good morning, sir.
My favourite expression yet there is she hasn't knighted me yet. Okay, right. I think that's all the introductions been done. As I've previously said, I've been appointed chair of this meeting. Can I ask the other councillors if they've got any declarations of interest prior to the meeting commencing?
No, Chair.
None, Chair.
Right, thank you very much. Right, we've had a pre-meeting, obviously, and what we've agreed is that each party will get 20 minutes to present their case, and then there will be 5 minutes summing up for each party at the end of the meeting. You do not have to take the 20 minutes. You do not have to have a summing up if you don't need to. And I would appreciate it if parties could keep it to the agenda. The procedure will be that the applicant and his representatives will go first. The councillors can ask questions, as can the officers and the representatives from the various bodies. Then it will be up to the objectors to put their case. Again, the applicant and his representatives can ask questions, as can members of the committee. Once we've dealt with all of that and we've dealt with the summing up, then I will ask everybody other than the councillors and the legal officers to leave the meeting. We will then discuss it, come to a decision, and that will be notified to you and within the agreed timescale. I think it's 5 working days, especially as it won't be until next week as this is Friday. Okay, so I think that covers everything. It's now up to the applicant and his representatives to present their case as to why this application should be granted. Who's going first?
I'm going to go first. Thank you. Okay. I've prepared my presentation, and if anybody would like a copy of it to help with deliberation at the end, I can certainly email a copy through, which can be passed over to you. Would anybody like a copy of it? No? Okay, well, we'll see at the end, maybe. Right. The premises in question is Food Plus and Polon is a franchise. It is part of a specialist European food company called Food Plus Network Group. Food Plus Network Group has a total of 193 outlets. There's 18 in Southern Ireland, 11 in Holland, 6 in Germany, 123 in England, 7 in Wales and 35 in Scotland. The nearest stores to Blackpool is Morecambe and Preston. Membership to this network involves a rigorous application procedure, and each franchise must follow a strict code of practice and guidelines. The store is what they refer to as a high end, and it's on a very similar par to Aldi's and Lidl's in its style, layout, food products and standards. The franchise of Food Plus and Polon have taken on a 5-year lease and will employ 4 full-time and 7 part-time staff to manage the business effectively. If the license is approved, and once the store increases its turnover, it's written in the business plan to increase the numbers of staff on a sliding scale. And just like Aldi, Lidl, Asda, Co-op, Sainsbury's, Tesco's, it needs the benefit of an alcohol license to secure its survival. It is a well-known fact in the industry that a shop that has no license normally only survives between 6 and 12 months. If this place closes, then it becomes another shop boarded up on the high street, and there are several already boarded up in Abington Street now. Today, we are not discussing a standard pilot eye and sell it cheap store. This is a professional franchise business managed by professional people and controlled by a franchise agreement to a professional network, similar to Aldi. Aldi has 396 stores. Food Plus Network currently has 198. It's only 100 behind them and is increasing rapidly all over the country and Europe. The mission statement on the website states, Food Plus is the first Polish franchise network that brings together grocery stores in England, Scotland, Wales, Germany, and the Netherlands. All stores affiliated in the network operate on the basis of standards, regardless of location and sales area. We guarantee professional service and high quality of the assortment. That's the mission statement, the company mission statement. Our clients are professional business people. This is not a backstreet pokey shop selling cheap cans of lager. If this premises is approved today, all staff will undergo full training organised by JMC Licensing, who have fully qualified teacher trainers with nearly 20 years of specialist knowledge and experience. The premises will operate the following compliance books, and I'll read them out. These books have been successfully used all over the country since 2007 in pubs, bars, nightclubs. One of them is a CCTV logbook. This logbook is completed once a week to verify that the system is working correctly. Any faults are reported to 101. Incident log, which selected staff will be trained how to complete the report sheets correctly. There will be a refusals logbook. All staff will be trained what ID can be accepted, how to check to refuse sales correctly, and how to complete the refusals log. There will also be a litter logbook where members of staff will frequently check the front exterior of the shop, collect the litter and keep it nice and tidy, with a final check at the closing. There's also 2 training manuals. The first manual is age restricted products, and this book is divided into 3 sections. Section 1 covers 30 products from knives to cigarette products and any other products that's covered by age restrictions. Section 2 covers the sale of cigarettes and related tobacco products. Section 3 covers underage sales, refusal of sales, checking ID, how to identify fake ID, conflict management, proxy sales, challenge 25, and how to report incidents. The second training manual is an induction manual where staff complete the alcohol authorization sheet and their individual training log that covers subject areas such as the premises license, its conditions, and the several notices around the premises, which will be the refusals policy, the section 54, subsection 3 notice, the premises license summary, and the proxy signage. May I just quickly add a little point here? After several successful hearings with Manchester Council and several other councils, the councils have sometimes asked me to stay behind whilst they inspect the logbooks because they were so impressed. West Lancashire Police stated that they wanted all the licensed premises in their area operating with them. Unfortunately, all we can do with a Zoom meeting is to show you photographs, and I trust that you have seen the photographs of them this morning. Following a risk assessment and a full study of the SOLP, we believed at the time it was necessary to add nearly 50 conditions to the operating schedule. This is 50 conditions. In 20 years, I have only ever written one other application that contained this many conditions, which full coverage of the licensing objectives have been achieved. There was 9 conditions covering the CCTV. There's 24 conditions covering prevention of crime, 8 covered public safety, and 9 conditions covered protection of children. In the Blackpool Statement licensing policy, it states in the introduction, quote, "This does not mean that we will have to follow the policy and guidance to the letter. We can depart from it if we properly considered it and taken it into account, but still consider that we have good reason to do so." And of the 2 priorities of the council plan in 2019 to 24 is maximum growth and opportunity across Blackpool. We today ask the panel to consider this statement in helping our client to maximise his growth and opportunity. In the latest Blackpool alcohol strategy, one of the objectives is ensuring that alcohol is sold and consumed responsibly. Our client can guarantee that his shop will uphold this objective. The policy sets out the authority's expectations of application and does state that although applicants are not obliged to meet them, the responsible authorities will make representations if they're not met. So, representation should be about the likely effect of the premises on the promotion of the objectives. Responsible authorities should take into consideration the following factors when they are considering to submit a relevant representation. And in line with section 3.22 of your policy, applicants should consider the following. The style of operation. This is the European Continental Large Self-Service Store. It's very similar to Lidl's and Aldi's. It's a professional operation. The premises and number of types of customers who will likely visit the premises. It's been difficult to estimate the footfall as the store's only been open for a few weeks and it's the height of the summer season. However, to date, the store has been holding its own. 95% of customer base are European due to the nature of the products sold. It is also estimated that the majority of customers will also live in the town. The business is not relying on tourist trade. The location of the premises. The premises is situated in the town. Abington Street is approximately 150 yards in length, and it is cut in half at the junctions with Talbot Street, which is just the beginning of the town centre cumulative impact zone. There is one other premises, which is the Co-op in Abington Street. It's also intersected by Springfield Street, Queen Street and Church Street. According to the licensing register, Springfield Street only has one store called Thoroughgoods, which is open till 11. The premises had no conditions. Queen Street has no shops that sell alcohol. Talbot Road has 5 shops that sell alcohol, including Tesco's, Home Bargains and Sainsbury's, that was granted with the benefit of alcohol until these have been granted with the benefit of alcohol either until 11 o'clock or midnight. Each of these stores has an average of between 9 and 19 conditions, all of a similar nature. Some are unenforceable. Tesco's has 15 licensed premises in Blackpool, the majority between the North and South Piers. All their stores stop selling alcohol after 11 o'clock or midnight, and one of them has a benefit of a 24-hour home delivery service. Dixon Road appears to accommodate 9 shops that sell alcohol. 5 of these premises have no conditions. After a few hours of checking, I've just been reminded that the shop is not open yet. It doesn't open for another 2 weeks. I would safely estimate that so after a few hours of checking the licensing register, I would safely estimate that the majority of premises licenses are owned by hotels, guest houses, bars, pubs, takeaways, then shops, in that order. Most of the bars, music venues in central Blackpool are open till 5 a.m. There is, well, that's what a customer told me, somebody who owns a shop. Sorry, there is
Right, okay, carry on. Sorry, I'm just.
Yeah, well, somebody can maybe clarify it, but I spoke to somebody who holds a license, and that's what their comment was, that most of them are open till 5. There is a density of premises selling alcohol in the cumulative impact zone, but they're not shops. It is likely that the majority of consumers currently buy their alcohol from the larger stores, Tesco's and Sainsbury's. Sainsbury's in Talbot Road, currently, as of yesterday, are selling 18 cans of Carling for £11, 18 cans of Foster's for £13, 15 cans of Budweiser for £12, and 18 cans of Stella for £15. This is an average between 60 and 75 pence a can. And you can check it with Sainsbury's on the website. Its proximity, number 4 is its proximity to noise sensitive properties. The premises will not be playing music and will be closed at 10 o'clock every night. There are no residential premises within close proximity of the premises that is likely to have concerns regarding possible noise from customers leaving the shop. The hours of operation are between 8 and 10, although alcohol will not be sold after 8 o'clock. The applicant has no intentions of attracting early morning drinkers and the management has made the decision to close prior to nighttime activities. It appears that other licenses within the cumulative impact zones, and the town centre zone clearly close by 11 o'clock or midnight. And again, Tesco's, which has the 24-hour delivery service. Number 6, the transport arrangements. Number 7, the proposed method of dispersal of customers. The scope for mitigating any impact. These are from your website, by the way. The extent to which the applicant has offered and how often the activity occurs. These factors are all designed for mainly for premises where consumption is on the premises, not off. So these are the factors that's taken into consideration, and most of them don't apply to our application. Summarising this information points me to certain factors. The majority of licensed premises are held by premises supplying accommodation. The next in line are pubs and bars, and shops are the least. There are very few shops that sell alcohol with proximity to my client's shop. In fact, one is the Co-op, which also sits outside the town centres. If shops were causing the problem, then the reviews would have been applied for. And as I've been told, some bars and pubs are open till 5. Approximately 14 licensed premises have been approved by Blackpool Council since the 26th of April 2021. That's 14. Some of these may be inside the town centres area. One includes Spyglass, alcohol until midnight, 19 conditions, no hearing. Webster's Bar and Grill, alcohol till 11 o'clock, 13 conditions, no hearing. Russ Brown's House of Secrets, unlimited hours for the sale of alcohol, 14 conditions, no hearing. East 4, I believe it's some kind of a takeaway. Alcohol for off sales until 2 o'clock in the morning, no hearing. Believer is an adult only hotel, alcohol until midnight, no hearing. Punch Club, bar, restaurant, alcohol till 1, no hearing. Bren's Barista, alcohol until 11, restaurant, no hearing. And finally, Aldi, positioned just on the corner of the off-licence cumulative impact zone, was granted a licence from 6 in the morning till midnight, 5 conditions, no hearing. There are several others that's been granted, but they belong to hotels and guests. The operating schedule that we've submitted is alcohol from 8 till 8, the opening hours 8 till 10. The premises will only be selling specialised foreign beers. All alcohol, every single can, bottle of alcohol is behind the counter. Customers do not have access to any of it. So it's quite easy to stop selling at 8 o'clock. He just pulls the shutters down. It contains 50 robust conditions. It does not sit inside the town centre zone. Full training of staff, full set of licensing compliance books. A copy of the PSPO will actually be displayed on the premises. The premises will not sell any single cans. It won't sell any illegal highs. There's lots more. I'm sure that you've all read the licensing conditions. I don't want really to go through them because I don't have time. Section 4.42 of the SOLP discusses how the council wishes to develop the nighttime economy. My client's business plan is to help develop the daytime economy. Therefore, of this, it would have a minimum adverse effect on the surrounding area. My client was aware that shops should be free to sell alcohol at any time when the shop is open, but chose to reduce the terminal hour in order to help promote the licensing objectives. All the above applications were approved without representations. The above applications could add hundreds of drunken people emptying onto the streets in the early hours, and yet it doesn't seem to be an issue. We understand the concerns of the police, the health officer and child protection. However, it is apparent that the facts here today that shops are not the main contributor to the problems of the streets of Blackpool, but they are apportioned to the blame for its problems. My client does not understand why he's here today fighting tooth and nail for his business when it appears that every licence application that has been approved since our application was submitted has been approved with no questions asked. In 16 years, I have never received a representation from a child protection officer, and that's the truth. I used to teach alcohol-related issues to junior children in school, and through my own research and talking to these children, I can confirm that children do buy alcohol from shops, either by themselves or by proxy. However, the majority of children that I've always spoke to, they always said they got it from their home, from their parents, and some of them actually the parents got it for them. We have included 9 conditions in the operating schedule that cover the licensing objective of protection of children, and we note that Aldi's only got one relating to the protection of children from harm, and that's challenge 25. So in section 4.1.2 of the statement, it says where the operating schedule does not provide enough detail, there is an increased likelihood that representations will be made. We believe that the operating schedule does contain sufficient detail and conditions to support all of the licensing objectives. The representations did not state why our operating schedule is lacking support. They just said, no, sorry, can't, refuse. In determining our application in section 18, if the panel believe that this operating schedule contains any weak areas, then I'm sure my client will be happy to negotiate any more conditions that the licensing panel feel would be necessary. In the statement 4.1.7 states, if relevant representations are made, the council will only grant the hours of use that has been proposed, and where the operating schedule and any risk assessments adequately demonstrate that, 1, the applicant has properly considered what is appropriate for the local area and considering what hours and activities to apply for. Following the risk assessment, we took into consideration the local area and decided that 8 o'clock was appropriate, as my client did not want to mix his business with nighttime activities. So the potential effect on the licensing objectives is not significant. All 4 licensing objectives have been fully addressed. The operating schedule also demonstrates that the applicant is taking appropriate steps to minimise any adverse impact on local residents. We have assessed that there will be a full minimum impact of local residents, which will be adversely affected. We studied the possible problems of the business. 1, prevention of crime and disorder. Section 4.5.2 asks that the operating schedule to identify the systems that will be in place, which we did, CCTV, security, display area, availability. All these areas were covered. It's also difficult for a shop to commit disorder, and there is a court case to support this theory. So although the applicant is unable to agree that no crime will ever happen, as that would be unreasonable, excessive and onerous for any applicant to do that, he can agree that this application has reduced the two main areas where offence is likely to happen, which is crime and harm to children. Both of these areas are fully covered upon every angle and described in the conditions. When an applicant has to jump this many hoops to obtain a premises licence, he is foolish even to consider committing an offence by selling cigarettes or alcohol to children. The applicant understands that failure to comply with the conditions can result in severe penalties, including revocation, 6 months imprisonment and an unlimited fine. A retail outlet is not considered to have any adverse effect on residents and businesses unless the owner or staff is actually committing offences themselves. The applicant is willing to agree that he and his staff will never commit any offences from the premises that will have any adverse effect on local residents. The premises does not have any residents anyway within the close. So in the guidance, it does state that a premises licence holder cannot seek to manage the behaviour of customers once they are beyond the direct management of the licence holder and their staff. We know
Mrs. Clark, you're well over the 20 minutes, so could I ask you to wind up as quickly as possible, please?
I certainly will. There is just one or two points. I'll briefly just run through it all now. If I just pick up, I'll just do a bit of nitpicking now. There's 3 factors that the council consider that demonstrate there will be no impact. This is in your 4.10.3. One of them is, this is what you state: premises cease operating before midnight. Our terminal hour is 8 o'clock. Premises which are not alcohol led and only operate during the daytime. Our client's premises is a supermarket. So they cover 2 of the 3 of them. Okay. Sorry, I'm just seeing if there was anything else. Okay. We agree that it does sit in the town centre map of Appendix C. But so was Aldi when that licence was granted as well. Okay. Let me just see if there's anything in this page as well. I do time myself, and I wasn't quite sure how long we were going to get, you see. The limited sale of alcohol from 8 till 8 is highly unlikely to add to the cumulative impact. Referring to this cumulative impact itself policy, this was brought in because of the problems of pubs and bars in the evening that were open till late. Our client's business will be closed and gone before the night time starts. And it's just a real concern that with new applications need to be carefully assessed, because they must not forget that the Licensing Act was designed to provide a light touch licensing process. That's what it was designed to do in 2005. And in addition, if there's any problems, there's also significant powers available to review any premises licenses. And that's the end. And I thank you for the extra time. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Okay, so that's I'm going to ask Mr. Barwinski very briefly, because your agent has had well over the 20 minutes that was designated for effectively for the application. Is there anything that you want to add to anything that's already been said? But very briefly, please.
We want to sell it really specialist the products like cake, really nice cake, really nice bread, vegetable and fruit. But we needed the alcohol license, because if we don't have it, maybe my shop is not survive.
Okay, right. Is that all you? Right. Okay. Thank you. Right. Members of the committee, do you have any questions to either Mr. Barwinski directly or to his agent? Right. Councillor Sloman, you had your hand up first, and I'll come to you, Councillor Farrell, in a moment.
Yeah, there's just something I wanted to clarify that you might not actually be aware of, June. I've got significant experience of working with young people in Blackpool, young people particularly who've been sexually exploited and trafficked. And the location of the shop, I'm aware, is somewhere that has been highlighted as being quite a honeypot area for young people. And although I can see from the presentation, you've absolutely more or less boxed it off that children won't be able to go in there and buy alcohol. My concern would be that the people that have malintentions towards children could actually go in there and buy alcohol and supply it for the children. The other thing I also wanted to sort of probe, at 2.12, we've got a restriction of a minimum spend of £5 on non-alcoholic products to be able to buy alcohol. Yeah, great idea. Is that going to be prominently displayed? And what would concern me as well, when we're talking about criminality, is knowing some of the people or the type of people that do frequent that area, because it isn't a residential area. Are you going to be inviting aggravation for your staff that's then going to have to be managed by the police when people are going in there, possibly not understanding that that's a term and condition of sale? That's it, thank you.
Yeah, it's a good point. Child exploitation is a very serious matter, but it's not confined to Blackpool. It's global. It's not even national, it's global. And it's on everybody's corner. And it's even behind hidden doors. So that's something that my client can't do. All he can do is observe outside, and hopefully he can see things. I don't know whether there's a street camera in that area, police. It's something actually I never checked, but maybe the police licensing officer can answer that question. The alcohol is behind the counter. There will be signage, quite plain, prominent signage, advising customers, if you're going to buy any of our specialist alcohol, we're not talking cans of Carling and Beck's beer or wherever you call them. I don't drink, so I don't know the names of these beer. But if people who go in there, they're looking for specialist beers. These are beers that Polish people drink because they like them and they're from their hometown. And there will be prominent signage at the entrance. There'll be prominent signage at the point of sale, which is the counter, telling people that they can't buy any alcohol unless they spend £5. So if anybody questions that, all the staff will be trained to do is just point to the signage and say, we're very sorry, it's company policy. There is nothing we can do. So, but I'm sure Polish people actually do behave in Polish shops. And they tend to behave and they tend to respect them. So I don't think the shop's going to have many problems, to be honest.
Sadly, the footfall in that area isn't going to be necessarily Polish people. It's going to be the general public that come to Blackpool on holiday and that live there. And I noticed in your application, you specifically saying the beers. Are the wine and the spirits also going to be speciality?
Well, yes, because it's a Polish shop. They want to stay Polish. It's part of a franchise, and it's the franchise that control the products. They say what products is to be sold, because it's just like Aldi, and just, they have certain products that they sell, and that's what it is. It's a Polish food chain. So they're not going to be stocking English products. It's mainly Polish products.
Okay. And security for your staff, coming back again to the restriction and the minimum spend, you're going to simply be saying, sorry, we can't do that. There's a high possibility that you're going to get people that aren't going to necessarily respond to that and that are going to be possibly quite animated about it. Are you doing anything to protect your staff in these cases? Because it is going to be potentially contentious. Are your staff going to have any sort of panic button or anything if they get threatened because of this restriction? And it's great that you've got that restriction, don't get me wrong. I just want to make sure that everybody's kept safe by applying that, and it's not going to put more pressure on the police.
I'm sure that security measures will be in place. We've put this condition on several other shops around the country just lately. It seems to be a new condition. Birmingham Council and there was Worcester Council as well. And they both like the conditions. And we've spoken to the clients afterwards and everybody just abides by it. They've never had any issues. What do you mean I have to spend £5? I'm sorry, that's what you have to do. And these are English shops. They're not Polish shops. And they've never had an issue. People have just accepted that that is it. And that's what they have to do. I mean, if people don't want to spend £5, all they've got to do is walk down to the Co-op, which is 50 yards down the road, go to Talbot Road. There's a booze buster there. They can buy single cans if they want to. So I don't think people are going to come in and start, you know, complaining about wanting to buy a bottle of foreign beer if they can go to the Co-op, because the Co-op sell foreign beer. And if they go to Booze Busters, they can go in and buy one bottle, no problem at all. They can go down to Tesco's and Sainsbury's and buy 15 cans, you know, for £11. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. And I'm sure that the management will cover that in the security measures. So I don't personally don't think that is going to be an issue.
Okay, thank you, June.
Okay, Councillor Farrell, you wanted to ask a question?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I just want to first of all confirm, when we talk about a high-end supermarket, is it, because you've mentioned Aldi's and Lidl's, are we on, because to me, that's not a high-end supermarket, that's a budget supermarket. So is this supermarket similar to Aldi and Lidl, or is it more high-end, please? I think Mr. Barwinski.
I think if you spoke to the owners of Aldi and
sorry, June, I don't mean to interrupt, but I'd really like to hear from the applicant actually, because he's not said very much at the moment. So
Okay.
my question was to him.
Sorry again, because I don't understand everything.
Okay, so in the application for the license, it states that this is a high-end supermarket, but it's been mentioned by your agent that it's very similar to Aldi and Lidl, which for me is a budget supermarket. Can you explain what you mean by high-end supermarket?
I think it's better than Lidl or.
Okay, so it's better than
This is not budget. This is not budget, you know.
Okay, and will you be managing the business day to day?
So again?
Would you be the person that is managing the business day to day?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I have no more questions at the moment. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I'll now come on to the officers, and I'm going to do it in the order that I've got it on me sheet, and that is first, Mr. Petrak, do you have any questions to the applicant or his agent?
I don't actually, Chair. I think we've heard more than we probably needed to be honest with you.
Okay, right. And then if I can work it out, then we've got the PC Harrison. Do you have any question to the applicant or the agent?
No other questions. I've heard quite a lot of information there.
Right, okay, thank you. Then I've got public health, and that's Kerry Burrows.
Yeah, no questions from me, thank you.
Right, we did have, unfortunately, the lady from the Child Protection is unable to attend, so she's got no questions. Okay then. Right, so we've heard from the applicant's agent, and we've had questions to that side. We now come on to the representations from the different responsible authorities, and that is, first off, is Mr. Petrak.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'd just like to, if I can, just maybe try and refocus what I think we're here to think about today, because we've heard a lot about other premises, which you know, applications that have been made at various different stages, which I don't really think is terribly helpful. And I think we've heard some confusion about why Mr. Babinski is here, and I'm a bit concerned that he doesn't know why. So just for clarity, the cumulative impact assessment document and the council's policy, sitting alongside national guidance, we're here because of the rebuttable presumption that this application should be rejected. And that's because of the location of the premises, because it sits in an area of saturation. The document, the assessment document and the policy that we have currently in Blackpool, which of course has been approved by members of the committee, essentially splits two key areas, areas of concern with regard to on-sales premises, or predominantly on-sales premises, and premises that are in essence off licenses. We're here today talking about the off-license element, and I'm not going to sit here and regurgitate all of the information that's currently sat in my representations, which is within the pack of documents that everyone has had an opportunity to look at. That speaks for itself, and hopefully provides everyone with some clarification as to why the area of cumulative impact is where it is. Unfortunately for the applicant, the premises that he wants to open sits slap bang in the middle of one of the worst affected areas in Blackpool. Hence the reason why he's sat here having to effectively justify his business. We're not sat here saying that he's a bad operator or anything like that. And the application, I've referred to it in my representations, the application and operating schedule is detailed. There are a lot of conditions in there. They clearly have thought about it. But the fact is that the proposed premises is one which is not exceptional. We've heard the applicant compare it to many other supermarket chains, so it's not exceptional in any way, shape or form. And it is unfortunately, the location is a matter of meters away from other licensed premises or similar licensed premises. So let me just get the exact numbers. We've got 100 meters up the road, we've got the Co-op store. We've got 25 meters away, we've got the News and Booze store, and 50 meters away, we've got Home Bargains around the corner. So saturation means exactly that. There are a number of off-license premises already in this area. The decision for the panel is whether do we need another one, and that is the way I see it, is the decision before the panel today. I accept the timings, all that's detailed in my representations, that's been considered. But the main issue here is, and the reason why this has had to be brought to the committee, is due to saturation. So in essence, that's all that I can really bring to the committee's attention today, is the existence of the policy for the panel to consider it. One thing I would say, that if the decision is to divert from policy, and the applicant did point out that we have done that before, which proves that the system works, is that if you do decide to depart from it, I did note this morning that there is a condition on there which is in fact an unenforceable. There, I think it's 2 point. Sorry, I've got it here. Just let me find it a second. I just go back on. You just have to bear with my technology one moment while I just find it. It was the one that relates to legal highs, because there's no such thing anymore. Managed to delete it now. I think it's about 2.6 or thereabouts. In its essence, it's a condition that states that no legal highs will be sold at the premises. Well, there's no such thing as a legal high anymore. They're illegal anyway now, so there's not really any need for that condition if you are minded to grant a license today. So there isn't really anything else that I can add this morning, Chair. So unless you have any questions for me, I'll keep quiet. Are you on mute, Chair?
No, I'll get used to it one day. Mr. Barwinski, do you have any questions to anything that Mr. Petrak said?
No, I don't have a question.
Right, I'll go to your agent, Mrs. Clark. Do you have any questions to anything that Mr. Petrak has said?
Yes, I do actually. Mr. Petrak mentioned the word need. His objection is said because we don't need another one in the area. Can Mr. Petrack agree with me that need is not an issue that the panel should be considering today?
Well, I know exactly why you're asking me that question, but the fact of the matter is that the statutory guidance does stipulate at 14.21 in some areas where the number, type or density of licensed premises, such as those selling alcohol or providing late night refreshment, is high or exceptional, serious problems of nuisance and disorder may arise outside or some distance from those premises. So if it's good enough for the guidance to suggest that the number or density of licensed premises is relevant, then I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm not going to agree with you on those terms, I'm afraid. It's contained within our policy. There's nothing wrong where a cumulative impact assessment has been done and a policy exists. There is nothing wrong with that, including saturation of premises as part of that policy. We're not talking about an area here that is not covered by such a policy or assessment. And if that didn't exist, we wouldn't all be sat here. But unfortunately, due to the location of the premises, we are.
Right, thank you. Do members of the committee have any questions to Mr. Petrack?
Sorry, Chair, Mr. Clark has raised his hand. I don't know if he wants to make a point.
I'm sorry, but I can only see limited numbers. Mr. Clark?
Yeah, if it's possible, if I can just ask one question for Mr. Petrack, is it? Sorry.
Yes.
What my understanding is from the licensing policy, obviously I'm not experienced as much as June, is that when we're talking about saturation in an area such as this, we are to consider lots of different aspects of the Licensing Act governing protection of children, the harm from children, and obviously issues such as theft and street drinkers mainly, from my understanding. So when we're considering putting these proposals together and offering the conditions we have to look at every single aspect to try to cover these particular problems. Now, when you consider that we've got a new premises that will be selling alcohol during daytime hours, and all the alcohol will be behind the counter. So there's no theft of alcohol, there's no potential of theft from alcohol because it's all completely obstructed. They can't reach it. It's inaccessible to them. And then we've also got the issue of, high ABV alcohol for lagers, ciders and beers are not available at all. And then we've also got the issue of the daytime hours. So we're closing at 8 o'clock for the alcohol and they'll all be shuttered up. So then we've also got the signs that do to protect, and then we've got the minimum spend, which is crucial to this as well. So the question would be, even if this was a situation where it was adding one more premises to this area, which is obviously highly saturated with other premises, how can this possibly be that we can add to the problem, to the existing problems in this area? In your opinion, how can you see, or how can you argue that adding this premises will cause any problem whatsoever to the cumulative impact?
Yeah, well, I think it's difficult to, I can't foresee the future, so I don't know what's going to happen, but I think knowing Blackpool and the landscape of Blackpool Town Centre, the main issues really on a day-to-day basis would be the problems that are caused with antisocial behaviour and street drinking in particular. That's something that Blackpool tries to defend against. And that is one. You've seen the figures there in terms of crime and hospital admissions in those areas as well. And I dare say Public Health might have more information they can tell you about that. But I think in terms of an area, Blackpool has some issues with alcohol dependency as well. So all of these factors come into play when we're looking at whether or not there's a need for a cumulative impact assessment. And hence the reason why it has to be evidence-based. We did a lot of work around the various data sets that were available to determine a cumulative impact assessment document. And I think we've done that reasonably well. I think there would be a lot of questions to ask if we didn't have one, frankly, because we do have some alcohol-related problems in certain parts of the town, which again should be evident from the from the evidence that I've submitted. So yeah, it's difficult to say, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. And as I will reiterate, the application you've submitted, I don't have a problem with it. It's the way that you've gone about it. It's credible. There are a lot of conditions in there. The problem we have is the existence of policy, or I should say the problem the panel have, because the panels are the ones that have got to decide. There is a saturation in Blackpool. There are problems in that area. So a determination has to be made one way or the other. So I hope that answers your question, Tony. I don't think I can really elaborate any more than that.
No, I kind of understand your answer, but it's still, to me, it feels like a non-answer without being rude to yourself. It just feels like we're doing everything we can. We're doing much more than other shops within the location. And yet still we seem to be in a position where we're sitting on a fence and somebody has to make a decision for this.
Well, because the answer to that is that your application is being heard now because it's being made today. What applications have occurred in the past is not a consideration for this committee today, and nor should it be an issue for you. I understand why you would want to focus on those issues, but they're not relevant for what we're trying to determine today.
No. Right.
May I ask a question? I'm sorry, I can't find a way of putting my hand up. So may I ask a question, Chair?
Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, okay. I know other applications are not an issue for the panel today, but there is one question that keeps buzzing around in my head is, if the area was so bad, which is what you've said, and I don't disbelieve it at all. We used to go on holidays in Blackpool. We know Blackpool. If it's so bad, why in the last 6 weeks has 14 applications plus hotels been approved with hardly any conditions and no representations?
Well, it depends where they are, doesn't it? It depends.
Right
where
in the middle. There's one right
are.
next to the tower. A bar opened up in the bar, Stargate or wherever it was called. I read it out. Right next to the tower, right smack bang in the middle of the most of them are in the middle of the two towers, most of them. And they've all been issued takeaway 2 o'clock in the morning. No questions, no reps, no nothing. And yet
Mrs. Clark, I don't think we're here to discuss other issues. We're here to discuss this particular one. We can't go back. We don't know why they were issued or under what circumstances, right? So I think we need to concentrate on what the exceptional circumstances are for this license to be granted. We can talk about other things, but it's not going to get us anywhere, I don't think.
No, I think the only thing that I can add, Chair, is that I think the policy does not apply to every type of application and every type of license. I think it's a case of maybe looking at that policy again and just examining what type of licenses it applies to and in which areas. That's the only thing I can say to you.
Well, one of them is 2 o'clock in the morning takeaway.
But
Off sales.
It's late night refreshments, though. It's not an alcohol one, so I don't think
off sales. No, it's it's alcohol. Alcohol to be sold off sales till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I think I need to intervene at this stage. I think it's getting to be a bit more than a normal discussion. Obviously, you've got an application here. The reasons why other massive applications have been have not been subject to representations is not a matter for you to sit and theorise here now. I think you have an application here, and I don't think it will help anybody, as you've tried to say, to argue about the reasons why other applications have not been subject to representations. I think you've cleared quite clearly the nature of the application and why the applicant thinks it should be granted, and I'm sure you will take what the representations they've made into consideration. And I can't see how we're descending into an argument about other applications is going to help.
Thank you, Mrs. Davis. Right, we've had questions from the applicant. I did ask if there were any any questions from members of the committee. Do members of the committee have any questions to Mr. Petrak?
No, Chair.
No. Right, thank you for that. I'm now going to move on to the Police Constable Harrison to hear from the police.
Yeah,
Please
yes.
carry on.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Yeah. PC Guy Harrison, I work on the licensing department in Blackpool. The police representation document is also amongst the bundle that you've got for the hearing. So I'm not going to go too much through what's written there because you'll have had a chance to look at it. The points I want to bring up, though, with the case that was being made is a lot of what we were being told was predicated upon the nighttime economy, the bars, clubs, pubs, the things they get up to and the issues caused by them. The pertinent issue for me with off licenses is the conditions that arise in the town centre throughout the day when people are using that town centre for shopping, meeting friends, holiday makers who are just walking through, the conditions and the problems that they are seeing. I've worked 19 years now in the police in Blackpool, and I know this area extremely well. I've dealt with many more than I could ever remember, violent incidents, alcohol-related incidents. And what we need to be looking at here is the condition of the streets that is arising from the fact that there is so much alcohol being consumed on them. And I believe that's why we have the policy, or the saturation policy as it is, because of the fact that there's real harm caused to the image of the area, to people visiting it. And I think we were getting a little too much away from that. Now, it was brought up just then about what difference would one more store make? The problem is that if you start to unpick things, you could say, well, why could we blame this store for anything? Why that store? This isn't what it's about. It's about the fact that Blackpool and this particular area in the town centre has a preponderance of street drinkers, alcohol-related disorder through all different days of the week, different times. It's not that this proposed store, we can't predict what, as Mr. Petrak said, what the issues from that one would be. The issue is the saturation, the preponderance of alcohol on those in that area, the draw that it creates to street drinkers whenever it's a hot sunny day, whenever there's any kind of event in town, whenever there's large numbers of people in town, the calls we get to the Abingdon Street area, the Talbot Road area throughout the day, and I'm talking through the daylight hours when people are out with their children, are so often to do with ASB, and I would say, well, the huge proportional majority of those would be to do with alcohol-related ASB, antisocial behaviour. I know it was mentioned about CSE and cameras on the street. Yes, there's CCTV on the street, of course there is. That's one of the tools that we have for combating crime of all sorts, including CSE, but it's not a panacea. We can't say because something like that exists, that's a reason why we don't need to worry about any more alcohol being sold on the street. I think as well, it's the other issues to take in is that by having alcohol for sale from yet another premises, even though the policy or the intent of the owner of the premises may be good, it is unfortunately a draw to people. And I do know as well that such a large amount of alcohol that is bought, even by people of the right age, 18 plus, I know that they would institute a challenge 25 policy. But so much the alcohol bought from off licenses in the centre of Blackpool is consumed on the streets. It's not taken home. It is consumed on the street. And although that is, within Blackpool is an offence, they're not supposed to do that, it would be naive of me to suggest that we could ever police that out by stopping everyone consuming it. We have a duty to look at policies and to look at the environment we're creating to reduce that in the first instance. So we can't just police it out by dealing with people as they drink on the street. We need to be looking at policies, as with a cumulative impact policy, that actually reduces the amount that could be bought and thus consumed on those streets. And that's about the sum of what I need to say. I mean, there may be questions. Sorry, I can't hear you.
Mr. Barwinski, do you have any questions to the police officer?
No, I don't have a question.
Right, Mrs. Clark, do you have any questions to the police officer?
Yes, I've just got a couple of them. Are there any street cameras in Abingdon Street? Police street cameras? I can't see them on Google.
Yeah,
Is
the
that being-
CCTV is actually run by the council. We have access to those, but we don't deal with them directly. There is, I couldn't tell you exactly what the positions of those are now, but having worked in Blackpool for many years, there's CCTV coverage of all the areas in the town centre.
Yeah, because usually if there's a really problematic street, they usually put a camera in there, but I can't see anything. I've just checked around and there's no cameras around.
Yeah, there is coverage of Abingdon Street. I wouldn't be able to tell you the exact place where that camera is, and over years that may have changed. The technology's come on. Like I said, I've been 19 years, but they had cameras when I started, and I know they still have now. But I can tell you, Abingdon Street is one where I patrolled routinely on night patrols, and through the day, and it's an extremely busy street.
Yeah, even though that there's only, well, the other shop, there's only one co-op on Abingdon Street, and then the other one, which is down the road, that's actually Talbot Street.
It's interesting that though, because as Mr. Petrak said, there's and it is actually in the submission we've made. There's I'm repeating things that have been already said, but there's News and Booze, a Co-op, Iceland, Home Bargains, Booze Buster. They may not all be on Abingdon Street, but you could get to them without breaking sweat within probably 1 minute. There's a huge, I'm quite surprised really that you would think that there's not many places where alcohol is sold in that area. That there's very many.
Do you normally object to all the applications that come in?
Well, there's the rebuttal presumption, isn't there, for the saturation area, which is clear part and parcel of the council policy on this. But again, from what the councillors have said, I don't want to get drawn into comparing one to another, but there is that rebuttal presumption.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what we're hoping to persuade the council with this morning with our conditions, the rebuttal presumption. Thank you for your time.
Okay, right. Do members of the committee have any questions to the police officer?
None, Chair.
Councillor Farrell? No?
No, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Right, we'll then move on to the public health representation.
Chair, Mr. Clark has just raised his hand again. I think he wants to make a point.
Right, Mr. Clark.
Sorry, it's just a very quick question to PC Harrison. I just thought I'd ask him personally, does he feel that the application with its own merits that we've put forward, does he think that it sufficiently would cover the 4 licensing objectives, given that all the alcohol is behind the counter, minimum spend, and the rest of it that we've already seen and talked about?
There's obviously a lot of thoughts gone into the application, but what I'm concerned about is yet more alcohol being sold in that area, and we do have to look at what it's not about apportioning blame. I feel sometimes today it's been you've sort of predicated what you've been saying on the basis of we're blaming things which obviously haven't happened yet. The shop's not there selling alcohol, but we have a duty, the police as well as the council, to look at what we know to be the case in the area and the evidence that there's so much street drinking. Alcohol is a huge problem. CSE, antisocial behaviour, the fear that it creates when you have these kind of incidents, alcohol fuel happening in the middle of busy shopping and leisure area where people, including young children, should be able to come and enjoy themselves. Unfortunately, because of the preponderance of street drinking and alcohol related problems, that is the issue for me.
Okay. Right. If there's no further questions then to the police officer, I'm going to move on to Public Health, and they are being represented by Kerry Burrows this morning. So, Kerry, if you'd like to do your bit, please.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies for not having my camera on this morning. I seem to be lagging, so I'm just presuming you can hear me okay. Can you hear?
Yes, we can. Thank
Brilliant.
you.
Thank you. So our position really is this area already experiences significant levels of alcohol-related harm to health. Talbot Ward, has the highest number of off-licence premises in the whole of Blackpool. We could find no public health evidence that a £5 limit makes any difference to public health outcomes. We feel we need to consider wider challenging public health factors such as street drinking, violence, negative impact on public safety. As far as deprivation, Blackpool's ranked as one of the most deprived areas in the country, and Talbot Ward is the third most deprived within Blackpool, which gives us concern. There's still a statistic correlation between Blackpool's areas of deprivation and hotspots for violent crime, domestic abuse and criminal damage, all associated with alcohol abuse to some degree. And the health statistics show that Talbot Ward has amongst the highest ratio of alcohol-related hospital admissions in Blackpool. Other than that, everything else really is in the representation. So I've probably not got anything else to add. I just wanted to highlight those points. Thank you.
Okay, right. Thank you for that. Just Mr. Barwinski, do you have any questions to the public health representative?
No, I don't have a question. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Mrs. Clark, do you have any questions to the public health representative?
No questions, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Right, do members of the committee have any questions to the public health representative?
No, Chair, thank you.
Right, no questions, good. Right, that's dealt with that. Right, I think that deals with all of the representations except for the children at risk, public protection, child protection licensing officer, sorry, my eyes are going funny, who is unable to attend today, so we can just take her report as read. Okay. And there's nothing to add. Right. That, I think, concludes the main evidence. It now comes to the summing up area, and I believe we do it in reverse order, Mrs. Davis?
Yes, that's correct. The applicant will go last. So perhaps Mr. Petrak can go first, then the police, then public health, and then the applicant. That might make
right.
sense.
Okay, then. Mr. Petrak, do you want to sum up in any way? And I would remind you, you've only got 5 minutes and you don't have to repeat what's already been said.
No, I don't think there's any mileage to be gained by me going over old ground. I think we know what the issues are, Chair.
Okay, thank you. PC Harrison, do you have anything to say in summing up?
No, I'm quite happy with the fact I think we've gone over everything that we need in this presidency today.
Right, thank you. Kerry Burrows, do you have anything that you want to say in summing up?
Nothing more to add, thank you.
Right. Okay, then we then come on to the applicant. And no, I'll shut up. Right. Does the applicant want to say anything in summing up?
Yes, I'd just like, I've got a brief.
I was actually asking the applicant.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chair. I apologise.
But we've heard, I wasn't going to say this, but we've heard very little from the applicant on this, which disappoints me. I would have preferred it if the applicant could have actually presented some of this information so that we get a feel for the actual applicant. But Mr. Barwinski, do you have any comments that you want to make regarding any of the objectors?
No, I don't think so. But I don't know why we not get it that license, because we got another business. We got a wholesaler company. We sell it fruit and vegetable from Poland to the around 300 shops, Polish shops, English shops, and a lot of different shops. We want to open the shop, but I think my shop is not survive without a license, yeah, alcohol license, and I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right, Mrs. Clark, if you want to say anything, but I would remind you, you've only got 5 minutes.
Certainly so. Thank you, Chair. First, may we say thank you for allowing us to submit our presentation. It was a little long and we felt it was necessary. Today, we trust that we have proved beyond reasonable doubt that our client's operating schedule is robust enough to stand the test of the licensing subcommittee and the rebuttable presumption of cumulative impact area. We also respectfully remind the panel that since the 26th of April this year, which is just on 6 weeks, 14 licensed premises have been approved without any representations being submitted. These include several bars, club, takeaway that was approved for the sale of alcohol for consumption off the premises up till 2 o'clock, all within the area. We are puzzled as to why these applications never attracted representation. And even though some of the operating schedules were weak and bore no reference, one application for Aldi was from 6 until midnight. The operating schedule only had 5 conditions and only 1 referred to the protection of harm. Upon determination of this application, we ask again the panel to carefully consider our operating schedule and the fact that we have put forward today. We have studied the representations from the responsible authorities and we're still baffled to why so many licenses were accepted and don't even compare to ours. The other thing as well is what we did was we've gone through the licensing objectives, we've gone through the conditions, and we've gone through the crimes that can be committed by the premises. It's in the guidance that our shop is not responsible for anything, any of his customers or any people beyond his control of the immediate vicinity of the shop. We know that because there's other certain measures. There's the PSP in place. There's a cumulative impact in place. So the PSP can remove alcohol from people straight away without any. That's why it's there. It's an excellent tool for the police to use. But our shop is not responsible for the people that come out of bars drunk. They're not responsible in cafes and nightclubs. They're not responsible for it. He's done everything he can to eliminate every single crime that we could think of. Every single crime, including putting the alcohol behind the counter. There's just no crime left. The protection of children, it's all there. 9 conditions to support that. Full training, full compliance books. Everything's there. Public safety, protection of, there's only 2 really conditions that we're actually looking at, objectives. One is prevention of crime and the other one is protection of children. And we've covered prevention of crime by 24 conditions and protection of children by 9. There is absolutely nothing more we can do. So we're asking the panel today to depart from the policy simply because we have covered everything. And you cannot expect our client to prevent crime and disorder completely because it's impossible. Nobody can do it. No licensed premises in this country can prevent crime and disorder. It's an impossible and you can't expect them to do it. And the committee themselves, the panel and your policies, all you have to do is to promote them and to support them. And that's, you're not to blame if anything happens, you're just doing your best. But it just seems a little bit unbalanced as to why all these representations came on us with this one. We thought this was normal for Blackpool. And when we read the history of Blackpool's licensing, I was absolutely amazed, because I thought all these representations were a normal happening for any application in Blackpool. In fact, we were told by the police that only 2 applications had been approved in recent times. That's what we were told by the police. And I don't know why we were told that, because I'm completely amazed. I'm sorry, that's it, I'm finished. I'm completely amazed. And we're just asking the panel to consider the licensing objectives, what the conditions that we've offered, 50 conditions, 50. There is no crime. He cannot commit any crime. He cannot do any harm to children. And we're asking the panel today to consider that, because because of the amount of money that's been invested into this business, you know, I need to tell you now that it will go to an appeal, and we've already discussed that, just in case. Thank you.
Right. I don't think that's a point that the committee can consider, whether it's going to an appeal or not. If that will be your choice, depending on what the outcome of this hearing is. So that's an irrelevance to our point of view.
We understand that, Chair.
Right. Councillor Farrell, you had your hand up. Is it a point of clarification or something?
No, it wasn't. It was just that, you know, obviously with the summing up, we've already discussed time and time again through this meeting about we can't talk and take into consideration other licenses. It was just that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I've been fairly tolerant and lenient on some of the issues that have been discussed this morning, which I personally think have been an irrelevance. Anyway, right, that then concludes the hearing for this morning, other than for the panel to discuss it and come to a decision. So could I ask all of those that are not